Hello, everyone, and welcome back here to Tournament Central as it's moving day out in Clearwater, Minnesota for our 2023 Preserve Championship presented by Prodigy Disc. I am your host this weekend, Dustin Murray, and as usual, I am joined by Brian Earhart, who you'll also hear from throughout the day out on the course, giving us the insights in person. Now, Brian, first off, good morning. Glad to have you back. How is it doing out there this morning? I know yesterday the scoring conditions were pretty good pretty much the whole day long. Are we looking at about the same situation today?
Similar situation today. Right now it feels kind of calm, but every now and then a gust picks up that was a little bit stronger than yesterday. The players still, though, temperature-wise, wind-wise, it's not anything to worry about. You're not going to have a super hot day that's going to compromise your grip. I think the players have yet another day to attack that double-digit mark that Katrina Allen set yesterday.
Indeed, she did, setting a new course record, I should say, at 10 under par. She's leading between rounds for the first time since her win at the Las Vegas Challenge at the beginning of the year. And so far, that's her only win of the season, though she has had a lot of other good finishes, some podium finishes at the Open at Austin and Champions Cup. And she actually placed in the top 10 in her last 3 tournaments prior to this one, so she's on a bit of a hot streak. We got to hear from her yesterday after her round.
I'm in shock. I not like in a bad way, but just I felt like the course was just given some birdies, and so I really thought, we have a lot of heavy hitters here that I'd maybe be in the hunt or tied for the lead. So really stoked to be where I'm at. I've actually had lots of putting rounds like this. I just haven't been throwing the disc as well as like today, so you guys just probably haven't seen them. But I finally found a way to throw well enough to give myself those opportunities for birdie as opposed to making those putts for par.
Well, she certainly had plenty of birdies yesterday, Brian. She was 100% from C1X and was 50% from Circle 2, including 3 Circle 2 putts in a row for birdie in that 6-hole stretch that you see there on the middle of the scorecard, which really propelled her forward. She now has a 4-stroke lead heading into the next round. Again, it's her first time in the lead after a round since her win at the Las Vegas Challenge. Are we going to see perhaps some deja vu from that situation and see her potentially take this one away today?
That she kind of led us into a little bit. She said the course was just giving me some birdies, and she's kind of throwing everything to the wind and just letting things come as they are. I know over the past few years her goal has to remain unbothered on the disc golf course, which is a very valuable lesson a lot of people can learn from. But when you work as hard as Katrina Allen, when you do as much field work as she has in the past, when you've spent as much time on the disc golf basket practicing the putt as she has, eventually, once the mind is there and the focus is there, everything comes together. And yeah, of course you shoot these hot rounds and you lead the field by 4 strokes. So if she can do that again and let all that muscle memory and all that practice come into fruition, again, she has no problem shooting this. And I think if she has this open mind that she had just mentioned in her post-round interview, I mean, she could go 10-10-10 if she wants and take this tournament down pretty easily.
She certainly looked very smooth yesterday. Again, Katrina Allen is a veteran who's very good at throwing the disc both ways. Again, putting has been a strength for her this year. She actually is in the top 10 for Circle 2 putting on the season. Had a fantastic putting day yesterday. She also is currently number 3 in birdie percentage for the season in the FPO field. Currently sits 7th in the UDisc World Rankings and 4th in our DGPT standings. Obviously a 2-time former world champion. And it's nice after, her taking a break from DMC to kind of see her refreshed and out there and putting up a fantastic score. I mean, how do you see her maintaining the 4-stroke lead? What is it going to take from her? Obviously you talked about the mindset situation, but are there any particular, holes that she needs to focus on or something like that today to make sure she can kind of stay out on top?
I mean, she got quality birdies yesterday, so I don't think she needs to touch anything. And we've heard this from a few players. When things are going well, you don't need to sit on the practice basket and fix anything. I think you just need to trust that you'll come back to the disc golf course, and if you did make a mistake that you weren't happy about, hopefully you don't get in that situation again, and you can just execute with a little bit more focus. When you're playing the way that she's playing right now, You just need to keep trusting. You just need to keep focusing on the execution thoughts and rather the overthinking of mechanics. And that's what she's been very candid about this season, is just working on her throw, trying to get back a throw that she's proud of, studying old footage of herself throwing in previous seasons. And like I've mentioned multiple times this year, it's not easy to do that and ignore those mechanical swing thoughts when you're just supposed to get from point A to point B. So I have to give her huge props for making that swing change and then having the successes with it that she has today.
Yeah, I mean, again, she had the best birdie streak of any player in the field yesterday, going, 6 birdies in a row in the middle of the course, and she also had one of the strongest back nines of any player yesterday, only taking the bogey on hole 6 clean otherwise, and was definitely finding some birdies late, even on some of the more difficult holes like the new hole 14. She was able to have success there and finish strong with a birdie on 18 as well, which was actually a rare birdie yesterday for the FPO field. So definitely someone who looks like a very strong front runner, but of course, she does have a couple of very strong players sitting 4 strokes behind her in a tie for second place. One of those players being Kristen Tatar. Of course, she is fresh off of a dominant win at the Des Moines Challenge, winning that event by 6 strokes. It was her 5th elite or better win of the season, combining that with 2 silver event wins. She's at 7 now for the season with some additional top 5s. And again, we talked about this yesterday, and I got to keep mentioning the stat because to me it's bonkers. She hasn't finished outside of the top 6 on the Disc Golf Pro Tour since 2019. I mean, just an incredible streak of consistency, and we got to hear a little bit from her yesterday as well after her round.
This course leaves a lot for the players to decide. You can choose like straight shots on basically every hole, or you can throw hyzers, forehand, backhands. So I think you can see a variety of shots here. I feel like I've been leaning toward my backhand straight shots here on this course a lot, and they've been working. So hopefully the wind doesn't pick up so I can use them. Honestly, I think I have the skills. I just have to have the right mindset. So I try to tap into the right mindset tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like at this point, Brian, we have exhausted the thesaurus on the different ways we can describe how fantastic of a player Kristen Tatar is. I mean, again, she never finished off the podium last year. She won 5 events last season. She has now won 7 events this season already. She's in number 1 position or within the top 3 in almost every metric you can think of, as far as circles and regulation, putting, fairway hits, birdie percentage, you name it, she's topping it. I mean, what else is there left to say about this player?
Yeah, the thing I'm noticing when I pay even more close attention to the way she's maneuvering some of these more challenging holes is she is playing for just looks at the basket so often when she's in any sort of uncomfortable situation. A lot of times when a player is out of position, it seems like they're trying to solve the puzzle, so to speak, and still put that shot within the bullseye. Right now, she's putting so well from circle 2 that all she has to do is throw something easy and give herself a 60-footer, and she's at least likely going to hit metal at that point. So I watched her yesterday on hole number 6 in a position where she could easily step out and throw a backhand turnover that gets to the basket, but she took a much easier option, went straddle forehand, and just threw it a little bit short to give herself a look at the basket. Much easier to execute shot, and she trusts her putt right now to a point where she doesn't even have to think about it. So as long as she's within her range, that's all she needs to do. So she's taking very high percentage options and letting her putter do the talking, and it has been working, obviously.
Yeah, it's been working really well for the season. I will say she did have a couple of missed putts within C1X yesterday that she did talk about, in the interview as well. So just maybe something to clean up a little bit today. Those 3 strokes could have put her right there next to Katrina Allen and made the range between them a little bit less. But no doubt about it that, Kristen is still very much in contention. Though I will say she rarely finds herself having to play from behind these days. So it's always interesting to see Tatar, as dominant of a player she is, really the number 1 player in FPO for the last couple of years, to see how she'll respond to the situation. And it's great to hear your insights, Brian. Now, of course, we have a couple of other strong players sitting, in a similar range, and we'll talk about one of them here very shortly, Ella Hansen, after a short break.
Introducing the F9, Prodigy's most understable fairway driver. The F9 is designed for beginners and lower arm speeds to get maximum distance, full flex flights, and effortless hyzer flips. A narrow rim makes it easy to grip for smaller hands. The F9, coming soon to prodigydisc.com.
You want to play through?
It's parked.
The first few holes were pretty much bullseye birdies for me, and I felt like I was super accurate off the tee, and my upshots were feeling really good. So besides like a few little mistakes, I felt really good out there. I definitely do think there are a couple more holes that I can't quite be as aggressive on, or the birdie's a little tougher, but there's nothing wrong with a hard hole. So just keeping that in mind and just trying to score wherever I can.
I don't think I shot particularly amazingly. It was rough starting with a bogey. That was pretty, frustrating, but I'm really happy that I kind of kept in it, got the birdies where I could, and climbed back into the lead card. I feel like I know what shots I need to throw on this course, and I just need to do them.
So we got to hear from a couple more players sitting on the lead card there between Rebecca Cox and Ella Hansen. Of course, Rebecca Cox sits in a tie at 6 under par with Kristen Tatar. She started the round with a turkey, had a couple of bumps in the road on the rest of the front nine, but then hit another turkey in the middle of the course and finished the back nine clean to find herself in this second position. Thus far, Cox's best finish at an elite event would be her fourth place finish at the Music City Open. She also did have a fourth place finish at the Beaver State Fling, one of our silver events. And she's also had a couple of other solid finishes, 11th at Champions Cup, 10th at Portland Open, and even at DMC she hit the top 15. So she's been trending in a pretty good direction, but she's never won a Disc Golf Pro Tour event yet, Brian. I know that this is a player that has been around the scene for a while that I'm sure you're very familiar with. What do you think it's going to take from Rebecca Cox today to really try to challenge our leader, Katrina Allen?
Well, Rebecca's spent a lot of time as well, just like Katrina Allen, reworking her throw over the past couple of seasons. She mentioned that she really, a couple seasons ago, was changing her form pretty severely to add a little bit more distance and accuracy and just become more of an elite thrower than she already was. I think accuracy and hitting gaps with putters and mid-ranges is kind of her specialty, which helps her a lot out here in some of these more short-wooded holes. But the driver's working for her right now. She said she's throwing accurately. She's hitting fairways. She's giving herself opportunities to get birdies. She said she's hitting bullseyes really well. Looked like she missed a couple circle one putts, but again, putting is hard, and even when the wind picks up a little bit, a headwind putt is not easy, and it's never a guarantee. So I think, again, if she can keep hitting fairways and giving herself opportunities to use that strength in throwing the putter and throwing the mid-range on those second shots, hot round is right around the corner. So it's just awesome to see these players making these swing changes over time and being candid about it, and then you see them pay off in the future. So now here we are, and it's starting to feel comfortable for her. It's obvious.
Yeah, Rebecca Cox, of course, a fantastic player and ambassador of the sport, and it's great to see her up at the top, and I'll be looking forward to watching her play today on our lead card. Now, joining her on the lead card, as you heard there in the interviews, is going to be Ella Hansen. Now, she has been in contention for the win at several tour stops this season already, including some podium finishes at Waco and DDO, also some top 5 finishes at the LVC and the OTB Open. In fact, she's never placed outside the top 15 this year. Several other top 10 finishes along the way. This is a chance now for Ella to perhaps finally get that monkey off her back, so to speak, and get that win. I feel like her and Holland Handley are very similar in that way, where they're kind of coming up together as that next generation of FPO player, and they clearly have tons of talent, and it's just about kind of finishing off and rounding off the game to be able to collect a win. I don't know if you feel this way, Brian, but for me it feels more like a win than an if they're going to get a win. Where do you see Ella, in this tournament so far based on what you've seen?
Well, what I can say here is that, yes, Ella has the skill set to dwarf any one of these courses that gets thrown at her, but at the end of the day, you have to execute consistently, and you have to find shots and different lines that you can throw over and over again. And I think she struggled with some accuracy. I think one of the big highlights from yesterday was we walk up to a hole, and a lot of the players in the card throw driver. She steps up at the mid-range and just doesn't execute the shot the way that she wants to, and that's an advantage. And I think she just needs to take advantage more of those situations where she can throw something more controllable and get those easier birdies on some of those holes that you really kind of need to get if you want to shoot those hot rounds. So to shoot a 5 under par, be disappointed in it, and still be in the hunt, that's fantastic. And I think some good adjustments will get made this round, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, she's sitting in the top 5 right now this season for reaching the circles in regulation. She's also in the top 5 for birdie percentage, so she clearly has the skills to score. It's just at times I feel like you said some of the shot selection maybe doesn't quite go the way that she wanted, and also putting is something that I think is still a journey for her. Like, we've definitely seen her at times be very dangerous from circle 2. Even yesterday, she had a couple of nice step putts that went in and definitely showed you that she's really trending in the right direction in her putting game. If you had to pick anything else out for Ella to focus on going forward, is there anything in particular, or is it more just kind of sharpening the tools she already has?
It is sharpening the tools and doing the little things consistently well. I think that's why Kristen Tatar is playing so consistent this season, because you almost never see her mess up a 200-foot approach shot. You almost never see her mess up a hole that she gets to throw a putter off the tee on. And that's the stuff that Ella gets to do more than anybody. So I think now that she has the skill set, it's just time to own it in and work on execution. And again, just making a few more of those shorter putts per round in circle 1, and you're right up there towards the top.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, another player who has a well-rounded game and has a super crazy skill set, and I'll be excited to see her play today. Another person we're going to be excited to see play today after his round yesterday was Rickie Wysocki, shooting what he says might be his best round ever. It was quite the roller coaster ride, and we'll talk more about it after the break.
What's up, everybody? My name's Kevin Jones, and the brand new disc to my lineup is the Feedback. The Feedback is a stable fairway driver, so it's going to be pretty straight out of your hand and then has a nice dependent finish to the left at the end. One of the great things about the Feedback is that it's for all skill levels. I'm really excited about this new disc in my lineup. Go check it out at prodigydisc.com.
What makes the Halal Guys so deliciously different? You might have heard of our famously long cart lines that NYC fans happily stand in. Today, with over 100 plus restaurants across the globe, we are your place to experience authentic American halal. Enjoy our delicious falafel, Euro sandwich, platters, and sides topped with our famously flavorful white and hot sauces. Order online today and taste how we make different so delicious. The Halal Guys, bringing something deliciously different to the table.
Yeah, and of course we've got to talk about Rickie Wysocki when we talk about the MPO side of things here at the Preserve Championship. He shot a scorcher of a round after a bit of a bumpy start. He wound up hitting 11 birdies in a row on holes 7 through 11 and then scored the eagle on 18 to go 15 under par. Wysocki is only the second player on tour in the last several seasons to finish under par while not recording a single par on the scorecard. Jake Mon being the only previous one, being when he shot a 2 under during the second round of the 2022 GMC. Rickie felt like it was one of his best rounds ever, and we got to hear from him after the round yesterday.
for me, it's like when you get a bogey early on in the round, it looking back, it sucks at the time, but it kind of motivated me to get better and throw better shots throughout the rest of the round. So I think that you always hear people saying, oh, I started off with a bogey and I had my best round ever. And so I kind of think that that's what I did. Start off with 2 really stupid bogeys on the front 9, and then just I knew I had to get hot to get myself in position where I want to be. My wrist is like actually not feeling great at all. And it's a couple of those shots the drives where I got bogeys, my body was compensating. My brain and my wrist aren't on the same page because I just got tons of inflammation. But yeah, I just felt like, I had it under control enough to where I could throw the shots and I didn't throw anything out of my control. And I think that the little wrist inflammation allowed me just to play within my game, and that's all I need to do if I want to win. If I have a chance to shoot another great round, I'm going to obviously take full advantage of it. But I heard Gannon, it's all about closing rounds, and I think out here that's super important with the par 5 to finish. And I think that's for me, that's going to be something that's in my head. I think if I finish out and shoot 11, 12, 13 under a couple rounds, to finish, I like my chances. So yeah, I feel like I'm in control of my game, and I feel like I'm in control of my emotions, and that's where I feel like I play my best.
And, of course, Rickie only recently coming back from dealing with health complications. He was still even favoring his wrist yesterday, which we saw on camera multiple times, yet he hit 91% of the fairways, was 89% at finding circle 1 in regulation, and 100% from C1X to catapult to a 15 under par round. It was an incredible feat to watch. Brian, what was it like to witness that in person? Kind of, what were your reactions to kind of just seeing that on display?
Well, like I mentioned a little bit yesterday, when Rickie kind of taps into that flow state that he likes to call blackout mode jokingly, there's a quality to his putt that is different than when he's having an average round. That nose down, just signature push putt that he has just seems to rocket out of his hand, almost as if he's taking all the adrenaline and momentum flowing through him and sending it directly into the disc. And he was doing that off the tee as well. He threw one of the longest drives on hole number 18 that I had ever seen. Easily got himself an eagle with a stock hyzer on his second shot. There's just something about him being on that course and playing as well as he did where you could tell he wasn't thinking about anything. He was simply stepping up and letting all those years of experience flow through him and allow him to kind of get through this course pretty quickly. I mean, to be the second player to shoot under par without a single par in the scorecard and have it be 15 under par, that is insane. And I don't think we will see a round like that in quite some time.
Yeah, a crazy score. I think you're really spot on about the putting. He currently sits at second position for the entire season in Circle 2 putting. We saw a lot of that yesterday. But now that we've talked about our leader on MPO, we do need to make a pivot back to our FPO. And, of course, one of the players that really had an exciting day yesterday was Kat Mersch, including an ace. And we'll discuss that and a bit more after a short break.
Join the Paul Macbeth Foundation's Builders Club to help bring sustainable disc golf experiences to people and communities around the world. For a small monthly donation, you can help us make a real impact. Your donation will go directly to making a difference. By becoming a monthly subscriber, you'll also receive exclusive updates on our work, special offers, and discounts. So join us today and make a difference with the Paul Macbeth Foundation. Together we can make a big impact, one small donation at a time.
And while Rickie Wysocki's round was certainly a wild ride, Kat Mersch also hit the roller coaster yesterday after a bit of a tough front nine sitting 2 over par after a double bogey on hole 8. Kat would find a spark with an incredible ace on hole 9, and then she'd fuel that fire with 4 birdies in a row and a series of pars to keep things clean the rest of the way, shooting 4 under par and finding a place in the chase card for today. Of course, Mertz already has 2 wins this season, Brian, an elite event at Jonesboro, as well as a silver event title from the Cascade Challenge. And, she found the podium at the first major of the year at Champions Cup and has really been consistently finishing in or near the top 10 all season long. What have you thought about Kat Mertz's 2023 season thus far, and kind of what are you anticipating that you'll see from her today, on the chase card?
Well, to answer your first question, she mentioned a few years back that she doesn't like being underestimated, and that was back before anyone really truly saw her as a threat in the division. They knew she had talent, they knew she had heart, but again, to win a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, it's not easy. You have to shoot 3 or 4 rounds of very consistent, focused golf, and it's exhausting over a weekend to do that. But she has stayed out here, and she has put the time in. She's put the work into her mental and her physical, just like all the rest of the elite players in this division. And now it's coming out. I mean, she has, number one, elite distance. She shapes the disc so well on some of these technical hyzer flip lines. She rides the wind really well with the distance driver. She has great touch, forehand and backhand approaching the greens. Her putt is a really cool-looking push putt that kind of hits the basket nose down. I mean, all the tools are starting to come together, and she has said this time and time again, I'm going to ride this confidence until I die, and it's paying off. I mean, she had a huge victory at Jonesboro and obviously took down a silver event at the Cascade Challenge. I mean, she's here to stay, and she's an elite player in the division, and there's only a handful of people that have that X factor to push and will their way to victory when maybe they're against the wall in some way or another.
Yeah, I mean, she did quite literally say that. That wasn't an embellishment from Brian. She said she's going to ride the confidence until she dies, and she has that diverse skill set you're talking about. I mean, top 10 birdie percentage on the season. She's also top 10 in C1X putting, so kind of all the skills you were talking about have really come together consistently for her this year, and that's why she's been, currently 9th in the UDIS World Rankings and 6th in our point standings for the DGPT season thus far. Definitely seems to be like one of those players that kind of adds to the parity of FPO right now. I mean, Tatar might be kind of dominating the win column, but we've been seeing a lot of players challenge her. Another one of those players we need to really talk about is Haley King. Of course, she wasn't really thrilled after her first round yesterday based on some of the words that we heard from her, but she still did well enough to find herself on top of the chase card. Of course, it's great to see her back in action, as we did see her have to DNF last week from Des Moines due to injury. Apparently, it was just a minor one, so she is, of course, back right now. Already has 1 win this season at DDO, several podium finishes and top 10s in her own right, and is currently sitting at number 2 in the UDIS World Rankings. So you think that's like a fair assessment of Haley King's game being number 2, and where do you feel like she's headed today?
I mean, when you look at ceiling, it's almost higher than anybody. When you compare all the different skill sets that one may have, but it's one thing to be phenomenal at throwing a disc. It's another thing to use that disc to play golf and to play it in a simple, consistent way. And that's kind of the beautiful dichotomy in our sport. There's so many different ways to play it, and you can kind of lean towards one way or the other. And she has skill out the wazoo. But at the end of the day, when you have that big of a skill set, you have to learn how to make smart decisions. And she mentioned this very candidly last week, that it's slowly something that she's starting to get better at. And, we'll see what just happens this week. She's been kind of a wild card this season.
Yeah, she's been birding over a third of the holes that she plays, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more today. But now that we've kind of talked a little bit about Preserve, we do have to kind of talk a little bit about what's going on across the pond over at the Swedish Open. We got round 2 FPO action taking place at Silva. Saarinen once again on top. Here's her drive on 18. She would extend her lead to 8 strokes over Annika Sten as she's 11 down heading into the final round. However, there was another big highlight that we have to talk about, and that was one of Silva's card mates. That's Mary Ann Moost of Estonia, who was actually able to ring up this ace on a hole 17. It was an incredible shot from the lefty. We have MPO action underway now on the Disc Golf Network with the lead card getting underway. Of course, this includes the likes of players like Paul Macbeth. And now, of course, we're taking a look here at our leaderboard. Brian, of course, we're going to let him go for now, but we'll hear him out on the course throughout the day. It should be a fantastic moving day with our players looking hot, and we appreciate you all tuning in to Tournament Central, but we're going to toss things to a final break before we get into the action with our commentary booth out in Clearwater, Minnesota.
Prodigy has finally launched the Team Prodigy Player Store.
It's got hand-picked discs.
You're also going to find some sweet apparel.
All the discs I've chosen are my favorite discs.
Be sure to go check it out and keeps us on the road.
There's something about sand that reminds us of ourselves. What were once great stones have been ground down over years and years into something so small. But sand also shows us that everything we do matters, and that together, even our smallest actions can create great dunes. Because little by little, a little becomes a lot.